My sister stole my inheritance to start a business, but karma caught her up and her business failed. I, 28 years old male, lost my dad last year due to a sudden heart attack. It's been difficult, especially with the aftermath involving my stepmom, 45 years old, and stepbrother, 15 years old. Dad and I had a close relationship, but it was always tense with Karen, my stepmom. Dad was financially well off and owned two properties, our family home in the suburbs and a gorgeous vacation house by Lake Tahoe. In his will, he left the family home to Karen and the lake house to me. The lake house was special because we spent every summer there fishing, boating, and creating memories during my childhood. This is where it got complicated. A week after the funeral, I drove to the lake house because I needed some alone time to mourn. When I arrived, I discovered that Karen and my stepbrother Tyler had moved in. They stated that Dad had verbally promised them the lake house and weren't going to leave. I was stunned. I showed them the will, but Karen just laughed and said she needed the house more than I did since she was now a single mom. She accused me of being selfish and insisted that Dad would have wanted them to have it. I tried to reason with her, explaining how much the place meant to me, but it quickly escalated into a shouting match. Karen called me ungrateful and claimed I never accepted her into the family. I'll admit I lost my temper and said some things I regret. I pointed out that she always seemed more interested in Dad's money than being a true part of our family. It got ugly, and I ended up storming out, feeling betrayed and furious. I called a lawyer right away who confirmed that the house was legally mine. He recommended that I start eviction proceedings. I sent Karen an official notice to vacate, but she ripped it up and sent me a picture of the shredded paper. Now my extended family's involved. My dad's sister, Aunt Linda, is supporting me, saying I'm just claiming what is rightfully mine. But my dad's brother, Uncle Rob, believes I'm being cruel to a widow and a teenager who just lost their husband-father. Karen has been telling everyone that I'm trying to make them homeless, conveniently omitting the fact that they have the family home. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Am I the jerk for wanting the house my dad left me? Should I just let them keep it to maintain the peace? I don't want to hurt Tyler, but I also don't want to give up my inheritance and the place that holds so many memories of my dad. Edit, thanks for all the replies. To clarify a few points, 1, I have my own apartment in the city, so I'm not without a home. 2, Karen and Tyler have the family home to live in. The lake house was meant to be a vacation spot. 3, there's no written proof of Dad promising them the lake house. It's simply their word against the official will. Update 1, it's been a month since my original post, and things have gotten worse. I wanted to update you all on this ongoing nightmare. After speaking with my lawyer, I decided to proceed with the eviction process. I sent Karen a formal eviction notice, giving her 30 days to leave the property. She responded by hiring her own high-powered lawyer and challenging the will in court. Her lawyer is claiming that my dad made verbal promises to Karen about the lake house and that the will doesn't truly show his final wishes. It's maddening because I know it's not true, but it's her word against that of a deceased man. They're trying to portray my dad as someone who would go back on his word to his son, and it's heartbreaking to see his memory treated this way. The court case is dragging on, and it's draining my finances. I'm spending through my savings on legal fees faster than I ever imagined. Meanwhile, Karen and Tyler are still living comfortably in the lake house, refusing to move until the court decides. The family drama has exploded. My aunts and uncles are taking sides, and it's tearing everyone apart. Aunt Linda is firmly on my side, even offering to help with my legal expenses. Uncle Rob, on the other hand, is fully supporting Karen. He's always had a soft spot for her, and I'm starting to wonder if there's more to their relationship than I realized. My cousins are caught in the middle, unsure of whose side to choose. Family gatherings have become a minefield filled with tension and passive-aggressive remarks. Last Sunday's dinner ended with Aunt Linda throwing a glass of wine in Uncle Rob's face after he called me a heartless money grabber. In the midst of everything, Tyler contacted me privately. He sent a long message saying he feels stuck in the middle of this conflict. He expressed that he misses the times when we got along and wishes everyone could just communicate. I feel sorry for him, I really do, but I can't shake the feeling that Karen might be manipulating him to get to me. I'm starting to question everything. Am I being too harsh? Should I just let them have the house to put an end to this nightmare? But then I look at the pictures of Dad and me at the lake, and I feel a renewed sense of determination. This isn't just about a house. It's about honoring my dad's wishes and cherishing the memories we had. The stress is affecting all parts of my life. I've had to take off work to deal with all the legal meetings and court dates. My girlfriend Sarah is getting annoyed with how much this situation consumes me. We had a big argument last night when I missed our anniversary dinner because I was on the phone with my lawyer. I'm exhausted, stressed, and I feel like I'm losing myself in this fight. but I'm also determined to see it through. I know Dad would have wanted me to stand my ground. I'll update again when there are new developments. Hopefully the next update will bring some closure to this mess. Update 2. It has been 3 months since my last update, and the situation has taken some wild and unexpected turns. Get ready because this is going to be a whirlwind. The court case was crawling along, with both sides presenting arguments and evidence. My lawyer was confident we had a solid case based on the clear wording in the will. Karen's lawyer kept pushing the verbal agreement point, but they didn't have any real proof. Then out of nowhere, Karen's lawyer came to us with a settlement offer. They suggested that Karen and Tyler would vacate the lake house, but I would have to pay them a large sum as a moving fee. I felt torn. On one hand, it could end the legal fight and get them out of the house. On the other hand, it felt like I was being blackmailed. Why should I pay them to leave a house that belonged to me? After discussing with my lawyer and Aunt Linda, I chose to make a lower counteroffer. We went back and forth for weeks and finally settled on an amount that was still considerable but wouldn't completely wipe out my savings. Just when I thought it was finished, Karen pulled her next surprise. She went to the local news with her version of events. A small Lake Tahoe newspaper published a front-page story portraying me as a heartless stepson evicting a grieving widow and her son. They conveniently omitted the part about the family home and the settlement cash. The article spread quickly. Suddenly, I was receiving angry messages from strangers on social media. People from high school were sharing the article, calling me all sorts of names. Even distant relatives who hadn't bothered to reach out during this entire situation suddenly had strong opinions about how horrible I was. I felt like I was losing control of the story. I thought about doing my own interview to share my side, but my lawyer warned against it. He said dealing with the media could potentially hurt our case if it went back to court. In the middle of this media frenzy, Tyler called me. He was crying, apologizing for the article, saying he had no clue his mom would do that. He sounded really upset about the whole thing. He told me something that sent chills down my spine. Karen had started drinking heavily and was becoming verbally abusive toward him. I felt awful for Tyler, but part of me also wondered if this was another manipulation tactic. The timing felt too convenient, but then he said something that changed everything. There's one more thing you should know. I found some old letters in Mom's closet. I think she was having an affair with Uncle Rob while Dad was still alive. I was shocked. Could this really be happening? It would explain why Uncle Rob had always supported Karen during this tough time. My thoughts were racing, trying to digest this big news. I asked Tyler to send me pictures of the letters, and he did. They were unclear, but there were definitely some suspicious lines that hinted at a long-term affair. I shared them with my lawyer, who mentioned that this could change the course of our case if we could show that Karen had been unfaithful during the marriage. Now I'm stuck with a tough decision. Should I use this info to help my case, or should I keep it to myself to spare Tyler and the family from the repercussions? Part of me wants to call Karen out for what she really is, but another part thinks that it would put me on her level. Throughout all this, I've been trying to think about my dad and what he would have wanted. I found his old fishing rod in the garage and spent an afternoon by the lake, reminiscing about our time together. It made me more determined. This house meant a lot to us, and I wasn't ready to give up without a fight. The settlement talks are currently paused while my lawyer and I figure out how to move forward with this new info. I'm hoping we can settle things soon and leave this whole mess behind us. I'll give an update when there's more news. This situation has become way more complex than I ever thought it would be. I'm starting to realize that in family fights like this, there aren't really any winners, just varying levels of losing. Update 3. It's been another 2 months, and I have a mix of good news, bad news, and surprising twists to share. First, the good news. We finally came to a settlement agreement. Karen and Tyler agreed to leave the lake house. In exchange, I paid them the agreed amount for moving expenses. It was a large sum, but less than what I would have had to spend if the court case went on. Now for the bad news, Karen didn't leave quietly. On moving day, I showed up to find the lake house in ruins. Furniture was broken, walls were damaged, and it looked like they threw a demolition party before vacating. The beautiful dining table that my dad and I had made together was shattered. I was beyond angry. I called my lawyer right away, but he told me to take pictures and not confront them directly. We're looking into legal options for the damage, but he warned me that going after this might restart the whole legal battle we just resolved. Now for the surprising part, remember those notes Tyler discovered that hinted at an affair between Karen and Uncle Rob? Well, it turns out the reality is even more complex than we thought. A week after Karen and Tyler moved out, I got a hefty envelope in the mail. Inside was a letter from my dad dated just a few days before he passed away, and a pile of documents. The letter clarified everything and turned my life upside down. Dad wrote that he had known about Karen and Uncle Rob's affair for years. He had decided to stay in the marriage for Tyler's sake, but he had been quietly gathering proof and planning his departure. The documents included reports from a private investigator, bank statements with suspicious transactions, and even DNA test results. The DNA test was the biggest shock of all. According to the findings, Tyler is not my dad's biological son. He's Uncle Rob's child. Dad explained in the letter that he meant to confront Karen and start divorce proceedings, but his heart attack happened before he could. He apologized for leaving me to handle the aftermath and said that the lake house was always meant to be mine as a way of making up for the years of lies he had endured. I was stunned by this news. It explains so much. Karen's desperation to get the lake house, Uncle Rob's strong support of her, and even some of the tension I had always felt with Tyler, despite my efforts to be a good stepbrother. I didn't know how to handle this information. Part of me wanted to reveal everything to clear my dad's name and show everyone the truth about Karen. But another part of me thought about Tyler. He was innocent in all of this, and finding out the truth would crush him. After a lot of deep thinking and conversations with my therapist, yes, I started therapy to cope with all this stress, I chose to keep the information to myself for the time being. I contacted Tyler and invited him to visit me at the lake house once the repairs were completed. I figured he deserved to know the truth, but it should come from me, not as part of some public family scandal. The family is more divided than ever. Those who supported me are upset about the damage to the house. Those who sided with Karen are saying I pushed her to this with my harshness. I haven't told anyone about the letter or the DNA test, not even Aunt Linda. I've begun the process of fixing the lake house. It's going to take time and money, but I'm determined to restore it to how it was when my dad was alive. Every time I feel discouraged, I read my dad's letter again to remind myself why this place is so significant. The media attention is mostly faded, but I still get the occasional nasty comments from strangers who read the initial article. I'm trying to ignore them and focus on moving ahead. This entire experience has changed me deeply. I've learned more than I ever wanted to know about family secrets, the legal system, and human behavior. I've lost relationships with some family members, but I've also figured out who my true supporters are. I'm planning to take some time off once the repairs are finished and spend a few weeks at the lake house. I want to reconnect with the memories of my dad, process everything I've learned, and figure out how to move on. I hope this is the last dramatic update I'll need to write, but considering how this situation keeps changing, I can't make any promises. Life often surprises you, as I've certainly realized through all of this. Final update. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm happy and somewhat relieved to say that this will be my last post on this incredible saga. A lot has happened, and I want to share how things have finally been settled. After the damage to the lake house, I decided to take legal action against Karen for vandalism. It was a tough choice, but I felt I needed to stand up for myself one last time. The evidence was clear, and she ended up having to cover the repair costs. This legal move caused another rift in the family, but surprisingly, it also led to some unexpected reconciliations. Tyler, who just turned 18 through all of this, contacted me. He said sorry for his role in the chaos and shared how tough it had been living with Karen's resentment and rage. We met at a coffee shop, and I had to make the hard choice to tell him everything. The affair, the DNA test, all of it. It was definitely an emotional talk. Tyler was shocked and hurt, but he also felt a weird sense of relief. He mentioned that he always felt out of place in the family, and this information made sense of that. We spent hours talking, crying, and trying to sort it all out together. In a surprise I never expected, Tyler asked if he could come live with me. He said he couldn't stand living with Karen anymore, knowing what she had done. After thinking about it, I agreed. We've been sharing my apartment for the past few months, and it has been a healing journey for both of us. The repairs on the lake house took longer than I thought, but they're finally done. Walking into the renovated house for the first time was emotional. It looked just like it did when my dad was alive, and I could feel his presence there. Now, here's the twist. Remember Uncle Rob? Well, the truth finally came out. After Tyler moved in with me, Karen had a meltdown and spilled everything to the family during a drunken outburst at a gathering I missed. The fallout was huge. Uncle Rob's wife left him, and he's become an outcast in the family. Karen moved to another state, likely to escape the drama. The last I heard, she was trying to find herself at a yoga retreat in Bali. The extended family is gradually coming back together, supporting Tyler and me. At a recent family get-together, Aunt Linda pulled me aside and apologized for not seeing through Karen's facade all these years. She's been a wonderful support, especially for Tyler as he deals with his new situation. I've done a lot of thinking during these months. While I don't regret standing up for what was legally mine, I do regret how messy things got. I've learned important lessons about talking things out, being understanding, and the need for clear estate planning. In an unexpected twist, I've started dating Sarah again. We ran into each other at a friend's wedding, and after a deep talk about everything that happened, we decided to give our relationship another shot. She's been incredibly supportive of both me and Tyler. The lake house is now a place of healing for our broken family. I've started a new tradition of hosting an annual family weekend there, where we fish, share memories of Dad, and work on mending our relationships.